Hi, good afternoon. My name is Horus Contreras Castro. I'm 17 years old and today I'm talking about the Cold War. So now, we're talking about the Cold War, general descriptions, and the importance of the dates of the Cold War. What is basically this? Now, the topic of the Cold War is what it was a great war after the Second World War created and a big fight between the United States and the Soviet Union, the Russians. This was created by a restricted rivalry and was waged on political, economical, and propaganda fronts that only have limited resources to weapons, basically more than food and anything else. It was affected to both of them. The term was first used by the English writer George Orwell in an article published in 1945 when the Second World War was finished. It refers to what he predicted will be the nuclear stalemate between two or three monstrous superstates. There's a really great movie called The Angels of Uncle that it is explaining the Cold War, how was the Soviet Union divided between the East and West by the wall of Berlin, El Muro de Berlin. And thanks to that, there was great conflict between both of them on Russia. The United States went like agents secretly to find some secrets about the Russians and vice versa. Talking about the war second, then it became the Cold War. And in these dates was when it was created the what we call the capitalism and the socialism communities that are nowadays really used. Capitalism is and means really for the people who work for someone to sustain by itself and giving money to the higher levels. Everyone is getting and satisfied and with good benefits, and it works like a really good society. Everyone wins, no one loses. The marketing and everything will depend on how the leaders, the heads, move all the progression or the financial, political, and economical money, for example. And the socialism is not used nowadays and is way the opposite. It is the opposite. What I'm meaning is that by yourself, you need to get the money, your resources, your food, your work. You're working by yourself like a completely individual society. Now I'm talking about the most important dates or events that happened on the Cold War. There were basically 10. Was the Berlin blockade and airlift, what I was talking about. It was divided between Eastern and Western positions, the Korean War, the space race, the U-2 reconnaissance plane, the Bay of Pigs, Reagan visit of the world, Cuban missiles crisis. That it was a big fight between the United States. Destroyer arms limitation talks, Soviet invade Afghanistan, and finally the reunion Germany. This started the first one, that was the Berlin blockade and airlift, began on June 26 of 1948 and finished with the reunited Germany at November 9th of 1989. Now the big question, after knowing basically the main motives why the Cold War began, this will be like, what does the term Cold War really refers or means to? A Cold War is a state of conflict between two nations that does not involve directly military actions, but instead it was pursued by primarily through economic and political actions, like for example, the propaganda, the acts of espionage, the espionage, or proxy wars waged by surrogates. This term is most commonly used to refer to the Soviet American Cold War. In such basic words, what I'm looking for, the term of the Cold War was the tensions, the fights between Germany and the UK and the USA. It was a stage of geopolitical tension between those big powers in the Eastern Bloc, driven by the Soviet Union, and the powers in the Western Bloc, as I was already telling you, by the United States, that fall after the Second World War. So now, the next question will be how each economic system, capitalism and socialism, the one I already told you about, how it works, both of them, to be sure to include the names of people who began and the one who proposed them, like the heads of all of that. Of the capitalism, I already explained you. It is an economical system in the government plays by a secondary role. The people and the companies, like most of them, have the big decisions. They control properties and means of productions are larger, entirely and private owned, because you work for them, for people to get your own real stuff. You work for someone, but you don't own anyone, unless you got doubts. This, the term of the capitalism, like the heads who started, was the one real very known person called Adam Smith. Adam Smith is considered the first theorist of what we commonly refer to as the capitalism. Was the one who mentioned this idea, this concept that is now used for the socialism. The meaning, an economic and political system where the ways of making a life, factories, offices, hotels, houses, etc., are owned by the workers who run them and the people who depend of them. There are commonly different between the capitalism and the socialism, and the heads of the socialism they were lately by the 19th century. They were by a person called Karl Marx. You may know them. In this collaboration with the Friedrich Engels, the socialism had come to significantly opposition to the capitalism. They were rivals, they were enemies. And for a post-capitalism system based on some form of social ownership of the means of production. What you got, what you're working for, you own it. We're not depending with anyone and not working for anyone. In 1947, the world was divided by two great powers. It was the United States and the UK, divided for the capitalism by Adam Smith, and what is called Germany, the United Soviet Union. It was divided by the socialism by Friedrich Engels or his partner. A really important term and information I forgot to mention you about is that when they were fighting on the Cold War, United States and the Soviet Union, it was divided something. They created a military support called the OTAN, and the Soviet Union, they copied them as the result to creating the Pact of Varsovia. The fight was continue. They continue fighting the United States and the Soviet Union. As you may know, the first man on space was by the Russian. They want to, after fighting between both of them, they want to like bigger, like support the other person in such technology and economical ways. With the socialism, they created and sent the first man to the space. Yuri Gagarin was the first man on space, and the United States was lasting as the NASA. So they got jealous, and the Soviet Union, they thought that wasn't enough, so they did, and they keep the first dog and send the first dog to the moon, called Laika, well, to the space, but she didn't survive. So in that case, the United States was lasting, but they got much more money economically by their system of the capitalism that was really working for everyone. So in 1969, what they decided is to send what is called the first man to the moon by Neil Armstrong with Buzz Aldrin. They got to the moon, and it was a worldwide notice, a big event that too many people think it is not real, but some of them by its time thought it was. This real great fight finished on the 9th of November, of 1989 and 1990, with throwing down the wall of Berlin. As a result, Russia was lasting, and Germany got much power. The socialism economy or system didn't work at all. It was catastrophically bad. They got down, they lost everything, and that is how basically the Cold War was ended. On 1991, the socialism system was introduced to the Russia after the wall of Berlin didn't work really, because they won the properties of Germany, and after 3 millions of deaths of people and more than 40 years of war, constantly war that didn't work really, they decided to end it. So now, after responding and making a great resume of what is the Cold War about, the terms, the people who participate on them, the dates, and everything of them, the term of Cold War and the dates, how it started, how it ends, the most important dates on it, and that I think I basically cover everything, most of it. I'm going to make an interview to my best friend Ander Curi Ramos. Honestly, he doesn't know too much about the topic, but he's a great guy, he's really intelligent, and he knows about the topic pretty well. I couldn't find a major person, an older person, more than 50s or something like that, a lot about the term, the topic, so he can answer me the questions, but we'll see what happened. I'll ask them the questions I need to, and you'll see on the next video, you see what does he answer. Thank you for this, and now we're going with him. So now we're here with Ander Ramos, and the question will be, what countries were the world leaders during this period?
The countries during this period were the Soviet Union and the United States.
Thank you very much. The second question will be, why did the countries who were allies during the wars become enemies afterwards?
because of the fact that they are likely going to war affecting Korea and other countries, despite the economical and political war between USA and Russia.
Thank you. So now you tell me, where did the Cold War took place?
The Cold War took place in USA, Russia, Vietnam, Cuba, Korea, South America, Asia, and Europe, but principally war in Germany, Berlin.
Great. So now, what opinion can you tell me of the World War? Your personal opinion, what will be?
Well, for me, this war was unnecessary because it was war after war instead of resolving their problems.
Thank you. And what type of weapons did the two world powers have at their disposition?
The type of weapons that they were at their dispositions were biological, chemical, and nuclear weapons.
Thank you very much. So thank you for your attention. As last of this, my opinion of the Cold War between the two economic systems. Also, my personal honest opinion is that this video might not look like I know too much about it, but I've been looking and searching for this information, and trust me when I tell you that I really learned about this topic. I watched X-Men, First Class, and Uncle of Cipo. There are two great movies that they talk about what is the World War. Well, this Cold War about, and about every information I got. This was like a great resume. I hope this works for you and you may understand my English. But as a personal conclusion, I think that is, as it has been told, an unnecessary war. After 42 years of fighting each other, it seems for me that the Second World War didn't end. It ended, by the atomic bomb in Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Yeah, a lot of people dead, the death of Hitler and everything. But the bad condition of living of the people continue. The economic system continue, and it was divided by two: socialism and capitalism. Now we know which one works. And these 42 years of fighting continue after the Second World War is bigger. Something I cannot even imagine. Seems like the war never ends. People like so much to continue fighting instead of stopping and thinking what will be the best for your country and for itself. And they only think on revenge and the best for them without notice the consequences. Millions of people continue dying on the Cold War. Millions of poor people pass hungry, desperation, diseases. They die. A lot of families broke. But after all of this, the nuclear weapons, atomic and biological weapons, the great minds, I think that between all these competition, economically, political, and social, and technological war also, we know that this end well. We decided finally on one system that was the capitalism, how it works, really working for us. And I think that's it, basically. Nothing more, nothing less. For us, past is the past, and it's a shame that people still fighting nowadays without making consciousness of how broke they are by itself inside, instead of they look outside instead of looking inside. And the great answer is it's inside for us to stop the fighting outside. Look in yourself, not in someone else. Everything is on you. And the Cold War make a lot of damage to people, but I think after it was really necessary to make a real good for us. Nowadays we agree, we are in harmony, at least. And thank you for your attention.